Elon Musk, all the big names, Mark Zuckerberg, who all. But I would really say, nobody is a born entrepreneur. Nobody is. It has been tested. There's nothing like a patch E in our DNA which says he will be an entrepreneur. Doesn't exist till date. All the skills of innovation can be learned. All the skills. You just need to put the right hard work to it. You just need to get the right data. You just need to connect all the data rightly that you have. Incubation centers? Maybe. Maybe incubation centers lead to innovation, and maybe not. They're just a physical space somewhere, but someone needs to go innovate there. Is there something special about the innovation centers? Like if I get into an innovation center and keep thinking, some idea will just come to my head? Maybe, or maybe not. Let's see. I would argue there are certain environments in which innovation becomes a norm. It becomes a standard. It's normal to innovate in certain environments, whereas in certain environments, it becomes an exception. So what are we looking at here? We have a lot of faculty members available here. So when we say we want to innovate more from PEC or from any place, I think we need to be creating the right kind of environment where innovation, entrepreneurship is a standard norm. It's not an exception. It's not that few lucky ones or few who have an extra bulb on their head will actually end up innovating. No. Everyone here, anyone here is capable of innovating. But then, innovation prospers, it breeds in certain types of environments. So we might want to get into what are those kind of environments where innovation actually breeds. So I have a very interesting case study here. I know Mr. Bhavnani has been talking about a lot of Indian government schemes, a lot of Indian government funds coming out of the Startup India plan, especially Atal Innovation Mission, AIM, which aims at like funding startups. They're giving funds to, they have a fund of funds through incubators. They want to route funds to startups, and then they want to set up a lot more incubators so that people in India, like the brilliant people in India, end up innovating. So US government in 2011 started something called I-Corps, which is Innovation Corps. And the person who was leading this whole mission was a person called Steve Black. So he's a very, very renowned academician. He's a professor at Stanford University, and he is a 4-time entrepreneur himself. And so what he did was, he took it as a task on himself. Like he loved this idea. So what government wanted from US government, the government had a lot of science projects which were funded. Like, or a lot of professors were doing some kind of research on government funded projects. So government would give some of like very renowned professors an aid every year. It was around $50,000 every year to do research in certain areas. And this research was going on forever. So what US government wanted, specifically like National NFD, I think, the science department, so especially from them. So what they wanted, and all tech, no management here, all tech universities. So what the goal was actually to see whatever research is happening, can we turn them into innovation? Like, can the inventions that are happening inside it, professors would do patents, professors would write papers, publications, whatever. But does this make a viable business at all? So that was the whole goal, that was the whole aim behind the project, Innovation Corps. And the result was, it was an 11 weeks project given to this person, Steve Black, and the result was every project was to come back with a yes or no kind of result, whether it makes sense to keep investing in this project or not. Like, can it become a viable business or not? So what this guy did was actually created a 3-member team of each project. Out of that, one was like a senior professor, or like very senior professor in their 40s, 50s, 60s, whoever. The other was a student from the tech university, could be a tech student, could be a fellow, could be a master's student, whoever. And the other was a mentor in that area from the industry. So this guy actually created these small teams. They would meet every day. Like, they were going through a very intensive program. They would meet every day, and besides doing whatever, the goal was everyone, like the 3 people in the team, should talk to 10 customers before coming to the meeting and ask, like, will you buy this? Really discovering the customer. So it turned out the professors in their 40 or 50 years, who were like unquestioned in their area ever, they felt humiliating to go out, maybe stand outside a shopping mall and ask these kids, like, will you buy my product? Nobody wanted to do that. Because like, they've earned fame, they know they're renowned in their own areas. Why would, like, it was humiliating for them. And so the goal was simple for this guy. If you don't come with this feedback, you're fired from the team. Aid is gone, so it was a mandate. So it happened. It happened gradually. Like, all the professors, they actually turned like teenagers. They would wear their hoodies, maybe hide their face in the, like, you know, jackets, and then they just stand outside, whichever is the target audience, a mall or Walmart or whichever, and they will actually ask like 10 customers, would you buy my product? So what I'm pointing to here is, like, the team actually worked like a startup. Really, there was no hierarchy. There is no I not doing this work. There was nothing like it. Everyone worked like a startup, and at the end of 11 weeks, 95% of those projects had a competitive business plan. Like, they would get the feedback from the customer. Maybe in some cases they will change the strategy every day. Maybe they will change the product in some cases, whatever. But 95% of those teams, like there were 54 teams, actually were ready with a business plan, and 92 of them actually got external funding, eventually turned into a viable business. So this is how, so by no means I'm creating a parallelism here, as in whatever worked for US will work for us, but then these examples help us ponder ourselves, like, what are we doing wrong? Why is innovation not happening from within us? Why are we, like, I know there is no dearth of ideas, I know that. But how many of those businesses are successful? Like, those ideas are successful. How many of them are actually able to turn themselves into viable businesses? So maybe there is something to ponder here. So what actually needs to be done is, from my perspective, is anyone who wants to foster the spirit of innovation has to become a startup itself first. Anyone. Be it an industry, be it a company, be it a school, be it a college, be it anyone. I am against the idea of opening an incubation center, trying to get funds, trying to screen some ideas based on what certain people think about those ideas, and try to incubate them and then turn businesses out of it. We have to create the startup culture itself. Like, how many of the faculty members are entrepreneurs here? Or anywhere? Like, by no means I am targeting PEC or anywhere, but then how many of us are entrepreneurs ourselves? Only then I can mentor someone if I know, if I have done a business myself. Isn't it? How many of us do understand interacted with a customer. I have never asked even a single person, will you buy this? I'm making this fancy pen. Will you buy this pen? How can I create business? How can I incubate an innovation center? So what we need to do is actually create the innovation culture, which actually means, like in India, like I have so many examples in US. I keep reading a lot about innovation in US, so most of my examples come from there. But then I know how these universities are so innovation ready. Their people are so innovation ready. In most of this, and I'm not only talking about these schools here, I'm also talking about tech schools. There's a lot of entrepreneurship courses, dedicated entrepreneurship courses, where students can actually enroll for those courses. And then those courses are for real credits. For students, until something actually gives them results, like if I don't get any marks for doing entrepreneurship, if I don't get anything, it might not be a good idea for me, maybe waste of time. So and entrepreneurship is not an easy task. So we have to create that environment. We have to create a culture wherein entrepreneurship is being taught as a subject. Nobody knows here how to do entrepreneurship. It's a good buzzword to talk about. In IIM Ahmedabad, I know people can skip their internship and they actually incubate an idea themselves. So I feel that's pretty good, because you don't have to do an internship and like do some random job that a company gives me for the 2 months or 6 months period that I am there. And everyone knows that the companies that I go to don't honor that much, because 6 months is too small for any company as such. Why not spend those 6 months thinking about how can I change the world? And that's recognized by the universities. Job readiness. Many students, like at least I would have felt at my time, like why would I skip the placement season altogether? If I don't get a job, like I have spent so much money, my father has spent so much money, and then now there is some expectation. At least from myself, I have an expectation myself. Why will I actually forego of the fat packages that are being talked about and rather get into something which is so risky, which has may or may not be like getting me anywhere. So what IIM Ahmedabad does is, you can actually skip a placement season. You can try your idea for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. You can any day come back, and you get to sit for one placement season. That's interesting, and that's encouraging. Like if I skip this year's placement season, maybe I want to really try my idea for 1 more year. Okay, I have a chance. I can come back next year placement season, at least get my life started back again, if it fails. I can even get back after 5 years. So these are some of the things that a lot of colleges have already started doing, and maybe calls for an introspection ourselves. Why and what are we doing wrong, and what actually instills the entrepreneurial environment here. And yes, we need physical space. And yes, we need incubation centers. But that's not the starting point. We need people to work from. We need people to actually brainstorm their ideas. So we need space, and that's where incubation center actually matters. We do need it. But that's not the first and the foremost thing to talk about or to think about. With me so far, or is it getting too boring? Boring? Okay, stop me if you think it's boring. I have some examples. Harvard University is considered one of the best universities for entrepreneurship in America. They have 33 entrepreneurship related courses. 182 companies started from within the campus in last 5 years. I'm talking about only the last 5 years. It has raised, okay, what's this number? 120 million dollars?
120 billion.
Billion dollars in funding. I can't even count the zeros. 57% of the entrepreneurship faculty are entrepreneurs themselves. That's where I think is a big change. 127 mentors. Howard University in the last 5 years worked with 127 industry mentors as guest speakers or lecturers or mentors, whatever. These are only official numbers. I'm sure if you're thinking of doing a startup, anyone doing a startup has their own mentors personally as well. So add to that. These are the mentors that the university works with. Babson College, considered number 2 in America for entrepreneurship. 79 entrepreneurship related courses within campus. Tech College. 181 companies started in the last 5 years. 100% of the entrepreneurship faculty are entrepreneurs themselves. Michigan, 59 entrepreneurship related courses. 153 companies started in the last 5 years. Raised $97 million in funding altogether in these 5 companies. While in college, by the way. 54% of the entrepreneurship faculty is entrepreneur themselves. Work with 204 individual mentors at the university level. Forget the individual ones, personal ones. So that's how the culture of innovation actually breeds in. This is the environment where if you're not innovating, you are abnormal. Isn't it? Like everyone is doing it. Why will I not do it? Do I not have the right mind in my head? So that's what we want to bring in India. That's what India requires. Because every single day, see, even if you fail, doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter. You are innovation ready at the end of your 4 years tenure here. Because every single day in your job, I bet all the skills that you learn here while trying to be an entrepreneur will help you. Your thinking changes completely, and you will never ever learn that from books. Never ever. I had some numbers from IIM Ahmedabad, though the numbers weren't I couldn't get them in the same format as from these other universities. IIM Ahmedabad has this cell called CIA that I talked about, and Mr. Bhavnani also mentioned about this. They are one of the very successful incubators in India, and they are doing a lot of progress. And by the way, they have no dearth of funds. Even before Startup India, they had no dearth of funds. Like Startup India till now hasn't given funds to anyone yet. They're only screening applications for now. But they have no dearth of funds at all. And the source of funding for them is also government. Department of Science and Technology. If they can get it, why can't we get it? They are a management institute. So it's only, and then forget the private VC funds that are available inside CIA in IIM Ahmedabad. I happen to be, I was fortunate enough, I lived in IIM Ahmedabad for a couple of weeks when my husband was actually doing his MBA from the institute, and I used to visit him often whenever my job permitted. I was at Adobe Systems back then, and there's this professor called Mr. Sunil Handa. Anyone has heard about him ever? He's considered the god of entrepreneurship there. He is himself an IIMA alumni, and he runs several businesses. He's based out of Ahmedabad, and he takes some courses on entrepreneurship. There's one course called Entrepreneurial Motivation. So it was about in 2010, and I founded my own company in 2011, by the way. So it was that year when I was actually pondering myself whether I should leave my job and start my own company. And when like the weeks that I was there in IIM Ahmedabad, I actually happened to talk to him, and he was so motivating. He just called me to his class. He said, "For the time you're here, why don't you take my classes?" I was not a student. I wasn't paying for anything to IIM Ahmedabad. It was only like my husband was a student there. And then I said, I had my daughter who was 2.5-year-old then, and I was said like, who would take care of my daughter, because like I'm here with my daughter, I have no support. And my husband anyways is taking classes. I said, bring her in, we'll bring her inside the class. And I actually got a sleeping baby in my lap, and I attended those classes. So that's the spirit of innovation, that's the spirit of entrepreneurship. Nobody can hold you. And I got so motivated by him, by his talks, by his whole course that I did for free in IIM Ahmedabad, that I founded my company soon after coming back. We need more Sunil Handas, I'm sure. We definitely need much more of Sunil Handas.
Five minutes.
Sorry, yeah. I'm almost there. So where can industry participate? So there's a scope of there's a lot of scope of industry academia partnership in the whole business of entrepreneurship and innovation. I believe that the college itself isn't equipped enough. They have everything, but they don't have the real live experience from industry. See, one option is tell everyone, all the students, leave college after 4 years, learn from the industry 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and then come back to entrepreneurship. But that doesn't work. Like some people end up doing it. Eventually, like I did it when maybe 6 years back, and I am 37 now. Too late. But then doesn't work. I'm a woman. My husband is from IIM Ahmedabad, so he earns a lot. He was earning a lot, so I could actually leave my job, no problem. But that's not the case for everyone. 80-90% of the people want to do something, but they never end up doing it because who pays the next month's bills? So this is the right place, this is the right environment. We need a lot of industry hand, and that's all in the hands of PEC right now to actually get the whole exposure from outside and put your children under that umbrella. Throw the right light. Mentors, like we have to ponder on this a lot. Mentors, guest faculty, exchange of knowledge and expertise. We might have the industry every time. Like I have my own startup, and my 2 partners are in America. So one is ex-Apple. So it was a very perfect combination for a media tech company. Like Paul Kennedy, who's the CEO, I'm the CTO. Like we talk every night because the founders have to talk every night. He works out of the US office. That's our business development center, and I take care of the tech office, which is out of Noida, sector 16A. So every day we talk, we have new ideas. Every day, seriously, believe me, every day we talk, we think, what if we did this? It will sell, isn't it? But then, when I come back to office next day morning, I have my own job to do. Like I have the projects which is happening, so I don't have resources to actually execute those ideas. So that's where actually the partnership can come in. That's not me, that's the case with all industries, almost. There is an idea, they need some research to happen, maybe that's where the partnership can actually come in. Isn't it? Money, in some cases, yes. If the idea is good enough and the industry believes in it, why will they not route funds in it? The industry is already spending funds anyways, somewhere else. Why not here? This similar thing called Forum of Industry Interaction Ahmedabad, I will not get into it, but then do read about it. They're doing something similar. They're under CIIE, and that's all for industry interaction and the projects. industry might have an expectation in return, because industry is very selfish. So we need to think about that aspect as well. I will leave it to that. Thinking more, like what can we do? Thank you. Any questions, anytime? I have maybe half a minute. I can take some questions, if at all. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Very nice. Thank you for a much bigger picture where you said instead of students getting into the center or incubation center for that matter, faculty should think beyond that, before that for themselves.